Hello everybody. We've already learned about matrices, we've already learned about vectors, we've already learned how to create a variable, we've learned to select things from all those other items, we've created data frames, performed operations on data frames. This is probably the last kind of tutorial on structures and the basic commands in R. So there's something called lists, and what lists allow you to do is store a variety of different data structures under kind of one roof or one banner. So it's just a way to combine information together. It's like putting things into a document and referencing it in pages, etc. So we'll have a few examples because obviously just explaining it probably doesn't make sense to you at this stage, or I'm not, either way. So let's create a vector first. Vector. We're going to call it myvec. I like the notation my. I use it in most of my tutorials. We're going to use a combine function and we're going to create 5 values. We're going to run that line and we create a matrix. We're going to do we're going to call it mymat or my matrix. Let's call it my matrix. We're going to use the matrix command because that's how you create matrices. We're going to use a sequence of 1 to 20. I'm going to split that down by 2 rows, so number of rows equals, we could do 4 actually, and we're going to just pass my matrix, see what that looks like. Yeah, that's cool. Right, I'll just delete that for the time being, and then the last but last, we're going to create a data frame. We're going to have a look at the data items in R that we can use. Let's have a look. What have we got then? Right, I'm going to use the average monthly temperatures in Nottingham. This is normally used for forecasting tutorials, so the Nottingham data set. Because I'm from Nottingham, so there we go. So let's create my data frame. I'm going to use the Nottingham data set as that. Let's just print my df. So as you can see, there's a lot of time series values in this one. Okay, so that's the last one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a list. Create a list to combine all these structures, as they call it in R, or things, all this stuff, that kind of thing. Right, I like the word stuff. So, to use the lists, we're going to use the my list, that's what we're going to call it, create a placeholder there, placeholder in memory. We're going to use the list command, the same way we create variable, data frame, sorry, we're going to just pass each one into the command as parameters. So my vec, my matrix, and my data frame. So now, if you look here, we've got a list of 3 items. So if I print that now, print my list, you should see those 3 items combined. Let me just clear my console window, Control and L, if you remember. Print my list. So first of all, index 1 is my vector, index 2 is my matrix, index 3 is the data frame. Like with data frames, I can give them a name. So let's do my list. We'll just add the values to the original variable my list, and we'll use the list function. I'm going to call the first one vector. I'm going to call it myvec. So that bit's the title. It's equal to what we've created up here, myvec. So I'm going to break that with a comma. Next I'm going to call it matrix equals my matrix. And last but least, we're going to call it data frame. Data frame. I'm going to make that equal to my df. So now, okay. Because there's a space in that. I should really do this for the sake of example as well. Create those as names. Okay. So when I pass my list again, it's the same as doing it as a print. You should now be able to see what they're called. So data frame, matrix, vector in my list. So I can then return those. So what I can do now is say, let's select my objects from my list. So selecting objects, say if I just wanted the vector, I could go my list and I can just use the first item in my list, and I know that's going to be my vector. The second item is going to be the matrix. The third item is going to be my data frame, my Nottingham data set. We can achieve the same thing by name, so my list, and then in the index notation we're going to say data frame. That should return the data frame again. Okay, makes sense. You can also use the $sign notation, as we showed in the data frame part. I want to return my matrix this time, and that will return your matrix. You can also apply a second set of indexing, so actually selecting items from that list structure. So selecting items from the list structure, known aka matrix, vec, etc. exec. So what you do is exactly the same thing. So I can say my list, and I can pass my list 3, and outside of that I can say give me the second item from my Nottingham data set. I need double brackets around that one. That's right. So if you're going to grab items from a list, you need double brackets around the first bit that you're indexing. So that essentially is the data frame. I could also refer to it by name. Let's do it by name, data frame. And then I can return the second element. It does the same thing, probably easier to understand. So it's basically just saying, if I printed out my list and just did 3, so it will be the data frame. So the second element from my list, let's just track this down, 40.8, is the February value in 1920. It's that one there. Okay. The last thing I'm going to show you is combining lists. So if you had loads of lists, so you created, say, all these structures here, created the first list like we've just done, you could do a double list or a list of lists. Use a combine function, and now I'm just going to use my list twice because I don't really want to have to repeat all that again. So if I did the double list now, that'll have 6 instead of 3 because it's just created those structures. Print double list. As you can see, data frame matrix vector, data frame matrix vector. So all that's done is just added both those my lists together. Basically that's in essence how you use lists. The last thing I'll probably show you is if I use the structure command, double list, as we've done on data and data frames. You can see it's got a list of 6. The first one's a vector with numerical values. The second one's a matrix with integer values. The third one's a data frame with time series data. And then it's repeated again, and it gives you that underlying structure over the list. Okay guys, so we've wrapped that up. Join me for the next sessions. We're going to be moving on to a bit more advanced stuff, but I'll take it slow. Alright, subscribe, thanks a lot, catch you again, cheers.